I'll tell you that I've sat down with Commissioner Martin and Cindy several times, looked this over, so I know that Mr. King, Herdola, Aiken have not seen this layout. Do you all have a copy of it in front of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of rumor going around. I can tell you that, throw it out the window, that's all rumor. We're just trying to figure out the best way to utilize the space in this facility that we need to start building quick. Now, one of the decisions we did make, that we felt like we didn't have to have it built attached to the existing sheriff's department building, correct?
Well, yeah, and that is actually a change from the way that the original language for the ARP funding was put out in, I guess 2.5 years ago, whatever it was. The rules required you could expand a building, you could not build a new building, but the rules have changed recently, I guess, actually within the last 3 months, where you can build a new building, which would allow us to separate it.
Okay, so Commissioners, the whole length of this part of the plans that's already sitting there, that's part of the sheriff's office, right? Right here? We're not using it. It's not, it's more than what we need, and I'm afraid that if we're going to get the best bang for the money that we have, the ARPA funds, we had to cut this down and concentrate on the main part of the building. So if you'll look at this part of it here, this will not be attached. This L-shaped building will move away, and there's going to be an aisleway in the middle there, a concrete aisleway separating the two buildings. And whatever, I don't know, Commissioner Martin, you may correct me on this, but if we do get that additional funding that Broadus is trying to, we may be able to do something with that existing building later on, correct?
Yes, so, under, I believe under Section 204 under Stafford Act, so there is funding available to do, repairs, remodeling, upgrades, and, that, based on what we know right now, would actually be 100% funding. We feel like that's, it's gonna take a while, obviously, to go through the process. Our focus has to be on getting our hazard mitigation plan updated, of which they are working on that. And then once that plan is updated and accepted by FEMA, then we can move forward. And yes, we're anticipating that we could potentially get 100% funding to remodel that section of that building, basically to whatever it is we want to do.
So this building on the left, that's the old mechanic shop, garage?
Right,
Okay.
Right.
How far are you going to move this new building away from it?
It'll be
probably about 20 feet.
about 20, there's going to be enough to move it away and then have a concrete stepway through there, because this is going to be surrounded by a chain link fence with razor. It's, you can't get into it unless you belong to that ELC.
Okay. So then permitting and development is going to stay in the building where it is?
That's what they want to do. Yeah, Tammy's told me that, so I can speak on her behalf. She does not want to move from there.
I don't know if I was told that building was ready to fall down and it was in terrible
It
shape.
needs a little bit of improvement, but it's not going to fall down.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it won't get blown away, but
Well, so what I want you all to concentrate on is that L-shaped building, and then you look at all these offices, you can see there's a lot of space in there. I'm going to voice, this is my personal opinion, I'm not sure, we've got 4 commissioners in one building. I got a little heartburn about that. I know there's probably a couple of y'all that don't want to come into this building. Maybe one is fine, but we need to concentrate on what this building is. It is an emergency operations center. Now, the only one that could change would be me to go in there because I'm the emergency management director of the county. And that may happen because we're running out of space in this courthouse and we're getting a new judge. Where am I going to put him or her? That little office back there's not big enough for the new judge and their secretary or their assistant. So not sure what's going to happen at that point. But this, even at that time, Commissioner Martin, even if we started like next month with stakes and we're putting this on the ground, It'd take 2 years to build it, correct?
No, the original schedule for the entire project was around 9 months, allotting a year because we have potential supply chain issues and that sort of thing. There's nothing in here that's a long lead term. It's all standard off-the-shelf air conditioners and all that, but air conditioners are the big thing. They have about a 6-month to 9-month lead time.
Okay,
So we'll probably still be sticking with the 1-year construction period.
okay. So, and I need to get some pictures to you that I met with Jim Hoslacker. And they do have the plans for your helo pad.
Okay.
The way they did it class act there at their location. We might go over there and look at it at some point in time. So there'll be an LZ on the back for any law enforcement helicopter that needs to land there. Big enough for that Lakota that the DPS has to land there. That's a pretty good sized aircraft, so.
So I see 17 office spaces. What do we need 17 office spaces?
That's why we wanted you to see this. We probably don't.
Well,
I'm just asking.
well, no, let Cindy explain that, because I think so during an emergency, the staff that needs to be in that building, she'll tell you who that is, and then you'll see why there's 17.
So originally, it was the development permits, because that's how Leanne was over all of them. And then when we started re-evaluating that, Tammy's not going in there, it's not one person. My primary concern was the public having access to the emergency operations floor during a disaster. We cannot have that. We can't have the public anywhere during the EOC floor. It needs to be locked down. Then we started discussing just at this last meeting, well, who's going to take up these empty offices? I was a little misleading. They said, well, who should be in the building? There's a difference between who should be in the EOC and who has a chair at the table when the EOC is activated, which is why we have the org chart. The org chart is when the EOC is activated by the judge or myself or the mayor if it's a city disaster. These are the people that can be called in to the table depending on what the disaster actually is. It's scalable. It may just be myself, the assistant, and the TDM liaison, and at that point, we could start drawing in more people. If we need to shut down TxDOT needs to come in. So when we were talking about finance, we have to have Brenda there because she's the one with the purse strings. We may need legal there. Most ICs, they'll have some type of technology there, so that's where John would come in. So we were talking about filling these other offices with 2 offices for John, for IT, 4 for Brenda because of her and her staff. And then there was a question of why does all of these people need to come in? Well, do they need offices full-time?
But they need a seat at the big
They
conference.
have to have a seat available at
So,
the table. So
just
do they
given-
have to have an office? No. So if we want to save money for whatever, I'm not sure where the excess, when we cut the sheriff's maintenance building out, that money is being saved for another project. If we still need to save money for another project, maybe we can consider cutting the size of the EOC down and not making it this large, putting only the offices in the EOC that, is going to be at the EOC. Normally, we're not Bexar County, but most counties, they only have emergency management, possibly the judge, because he is the emergency manager in the EOC. If we want to start putting other offices in there, then that's, because we have the space, then that's what we're going to do, because that's kind of how it was originally designed. That's not where we're at now. So that's what the org chart is. That's who's going to have a seat at the table.
But also you need to be able to, sometimes they need to go and have little side conferences, so we
We-
need some smaller conference rooms and maybe a large and a couple of medium-sized conference room, and some may need to go in and
Yeah.
have
We
an
need-
office where they can close the door and think or rest or whatever.
Yes, sir. We call those breakout rooms in emergency management. All EOCs have on that a minimum of 2 breakout rooms, normally 4. Because if we need to send medical to one room, fire to one room, You've got spaces for people to go have that private conversation, bring their decisions back to the EOC floor and tell us, this is what we're recommending if we're gonna start medic evacs, or, you know, we need to do a transportation issue. We have that space. And if those rooms can be multi-purpose, I see the county severely needing a conference room, a training room. Between me and the sheriff, we have lots of trainings, just between us two alone. We have no place to hold a true training to, you know, to open room, put the chairs however we need it. Right now, I have to borrow something from the city, or what I'm doing right now is reaching out to the ESD, so a training room.
Is that what the command room will be used for?
When it's not in, yes,
It's
it's
not in.
partitioned off to the, right down the middle where we can break it off. So if I'm doing a training, the sheriff can do a training. Or if commissioners, y'all need to have a meeting or y'all want a specific training, or when it comes tax time, the auditors need a bigger place to spread out, because I know they come in and use the little office back here. So I mean, Brenda can use it. Anybody in the county can use the rooms. It's just a location for the county to have any type of trainings in.
When we do tabletop exercises, and we're going to do.
Yes, sir.
All of y'all are gonna get your chance to sit at that chair in that command post, and everybody's gonna have a job during whatever scenario that we come up with, whether it be natural or man-made, and we all make, and the decisions are made in there. Everybody has, and you're probably wondering, why do we have the county auditor? Well, she's the one that has the checkbook, then we have to turn to her and do something, then to get reimbursement from FEMA, which we will. The state and FEMA will come in if we get hit by a tornado here, but we have to have the central point where her personnel can come in. They don't need to be in the building. They'll just come there with us, have a seat there. And all this is not something I made up. Jason, you know what I'm talking about. I've sat in the belly of that DPS building many times when we've had disasters, and this is a miniature version of it, and that's how things get done. Sheriff, you'll be in there as well. And of course, you know, all the experts are gonna come in and be giving advice to either the mayors or me. And that was the other thing, I was wondering, I was thinking about this the other night on the diagram. We have, what, 5 mayors in this county? Do we not? They all, 4. We should have places for them. They may need one of these offices to come in there, because it may be us, the county, me, supporting the mayor of Poth or Stockdale, but they are in charge of their disaster as well, in their town.
I think we could do it as one commissioner's office. Y'all can share, use it whenever, even outside of a disaster, you need to run and print something, perfect office. And we need to have ones designated for the mayors, because very seldom are you gonna have 2 mayors activating at the same time. It's gonna affect, and if it's affecting more than one, then it's probably gonna be countywide, and then Judge Whitman's.
And there's not gonna be any argument between me or the mayors. If a disaster, we're gonna work together on helping the people.
And historically, in the 12 years I've been doing Wilson County, they immediately look at me to do, and Leanne, Ms. Hoshek, they look at us, what do we need to do? You tell us what we're gonna do. None of them stepped up and, I'm the mayor, you're gonna do it. They leave emergency management to us. We are the people that do it for them. We are their designated emergency manager. They're under our emergency management plan, so they look at, for us to do that for them as well. But yes, one, and that could also be a breakout room.
Yeah.
You know, if we
I
have
can't tell you how many times
4
we turned
areas.
to them kids and said, I know we're in charge, but what do we do? Am I right?
That's right. We always look for our matter experts,
Okay,
so.
another question is, since we're getting county court at law, do we have any idea how many offices we're gonna need to free up here to handle that?
I think that person can take my office down there, no problem. And I don't know,
This
Sheriff,
office
do
back
you?
here,
That's,
can it be used or not?
he or she can be in there, but their assistant be right next to the bathroom. There's no room for the assistant in there. Can't use this room in here because that's where the jury deliberates. So
And if we go into executive session, that's.
you go into executive session, we have to go in there, they can't use that, so, I don't know, there may be the point where, this is a suggestion, I'm just saying, that the sheriff could come right at the front of this building, free up some space at his, he's in need of space already. Sheriff, well, you and I talked about that. Is that okay with you if that came, okay?
Well,
I'm just trying to figure out what,
and I go back to her concern about how do we limit access from the public being able to come in and see the elected officials to, they can't get to the rest of the building, you know?
So if you look at the front there, you see that conference room, you see a secretary's office to the right,
Yes, sir.
and there's a foyer there. Well, actually, that big office could become,
Well, yeah, I mean, we were looking at reconfiguring that space.
reconfiguring that space, so you can't get past that one door.
Right, and,
Commissioner?
and it all has electronic controls.
You can't,
with
you'd
key
have to have a
cards.
card key to
You
get
have to have a
in.
car or get.
Past that, nobody can enter that building. And they shouldn't.
No. not
Unless you
listed.
have
And we will be
40.
getting PIV cards from TDM, and we're gonna use our access control off of what that process is. So once they get us badged, hopefully soon, they had a new change, and so we got kind of pushed back.
TDM is gonna offer badges the same way Strack offers badges.
Yes.
Yeah, so everybody's statewide, it's a big initiative statewide for all first responders or public service personnel to have this one type of badge, so it's easily identifiable. Eventually, you'll be able to upload all your credentials to it. First responders will be able to use it to log into their CAD devices, badge stores. There's a lot of technology that can be built into it. It hasn't been built into it yet, but the state has already started pushing those ideas out to a lot of other jurisdictions.
Is that the card that was issued to us at that seminar in Renham at A&M? No, Gary, when you and I went to that seminar?
It has a gold chip at the bottom.
Yeah, that we all took turns going over, and TDM had set up, and it's a card.
Yeah,
Has a little, like a ATM chip down at the bottom. I don't even have one, so.
I think so.
I think that's it. So are you saying that we could have this program to where, that way you guys have authority to come in as well, because you
Yes,
should?
sir.
Yeah, and you can, depending on the badge, like if I go and reach a badge scanner and I don't have access, you can log into that badge scanner, pull my ID code, and then issue me access to the
Okay.
doors we want me to have.
Yeah, and I'll have control of that. But it's just another step.
You know, looking at this, I keep looking at it, it's not as big as you think it is.
No,
It's not
it's
that
not.
big.
And I mean, I know you asked a question, do we need all those offices? And I guess the answer is, well, tell me what you think the biggest disaster we're going to have in the county is, because it can get pretty darn busy in there. And, in certain cases, if it's something where we are having to write checks, it might be Brenda and Christina and maybe a couple other people that need to get in there so that you come in, bring in your paperwork. I mean, we'll be in and out of the field and we'll be having to drop off reports. Somebody's got to keep track of all that stuff and then be able to fill out all the spreadsheets and everything to turn it in to get reimbursed. So in a real emergency, there's a big need for space. And I mean, I've thought about this over the last week or so since we last met. And as far as permanent residents in there, there'd probably be 6, 7, 8 people in there. But like we said, probably that office pod of 4 in the middle, we're probably going to change that into 2 conference rooms or breakout rooms. And then reconfigure that front office space to be able to house the judge and the sheriff, and have another fairly good-sized conference room up there. So, and that would be 3, 6, 9, 12. That'd be 12, 13, 14 offices. I mean,
What is the big open office?
Well, you got to remember what you're looking at here was the original plan. And so, like I said, all that front area up there where it says conference foyer, secretary and copy room, and she needs, we'll have to put a first aid room in here, and then she needs a radio room in here for the ham radio operators and also a place for charging stations. So that's going to take up, some of that space.
The one I'm looking at, Gary, is the one like says where the kitchenette is, and there's a big, says open
That
office,
open
big,
office, yeah.
big area.
That was all originally set up for dispatch, and I think we're not moving dispatch anymore.
So the dispatch area and it's not a kitchen, it's a break room. they're going to be flipped. So we,
Break room's coming over here.
yeah, the break room will go where dispatch was, and then we still need to put, you know, the custodial space in there, and that office and the storage files in that corner, some of that'll be taken up by some of the things that we'll need in there, you know, the janitor's closet, and that kind of stuff.
So we're looking at the EOC floor, and then there'll be 3 offices for emergency management, 4 offices for Brenda, 2 offices for IT.
Hold on one second.
Well, hold on, whoa, hold on, no.
4 is her total count of employees.
That's what we agreed on, or that was our last
We're gonna
discussion.
move her office out of the courthourse over there permanently?
No, I think we need to rethink that.
Okay,
We'll just need Brenda or any of her designees during a disaster.
to have access to her room.
Yeah, but it's not her, it's also Christina's office too, because,
You're gonna put Brenda's and Christina's office in
no,
the EOC?
I'm saying, no,
Okay, sorry.
we're not, if they're not all moving there, then none of them are moving there. But what I'm saying is in a disaster, you need probably a designated auditor's office, and you need a designated treasurer's office person, whoever that is, I don't know who it might be.
What would the treasurer have to do in a disaster?
She, whatever Brenda tells them to do.
She had to
Yeah.
write a check.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got to,
I don't
she's
think
got
we
to
write
actually,
checks in a disaster.
well,
Well, if we have to hire somebody locally until we get reimbursed from FEMA or the state, we'll have to write a check.
And you have to be able to execute procurement contracts if you don't already have them.
It's a good thought, yes.
Which we should be working on that. We were set for a
Right.
seminar that we put off for budgets.
When the governor says, okay, it's a disaster, I'm declaring it that.
We're going.
It takes 30 some odd days for them to transfer that money into an account.
Yeah. So we want 1 auditor, 1 treasurer.
yeah, I'd say
Okay.
at a minimum.
Yeah, but they
Are
won't
we-
be in there permanent, just a place
No.
for them to go.
So are you saying they're gonna still back to filling in those offices? Are we gonna have 2
Well,
office
to me,
spaces?
it would be 5. It'd be the judge and the sheriff, your 3, and 2 for IT, if I did the math right.
Why wouldn't one office suffice for a treasurer's representative and an auditor's representative?
Well, if the office is big enough, these offices aren't that big. These offices are only big enough for 1 desk, 1 chair, and a small file cabinet. That's,
Well, like, you got 144 and 153, they're pretty good size. Well, we'd have to look at better
well,
later.
they appear that way, but looks can be deceiving. I mean, you'll have to tell me how big an office you want. But as I was saying, I mean, you know, if it's a countywide disaster, the 4 or all 5 of us are going to be in and out of there a lot. You know, and so, I mean, whether you office in there or not, I don't think that matters. I think we need a place to go. If it's just a local disaster, then the mayors or the city manager or whatever can use those offices.
So let me ask you this, if the command post is set up, the center point like we normally do on an incident command, right?
Yes, sir.
The tables are there, everybody's wearing their vest, everybody, why can't that just be their designated area right there? I mean,
Very well
I
can.
sat next to the finance people at that same table, and they didn't have an office, they just did everything on their computer. Right?
And that's the way most standard
Yeah.
EOCs are set up. When you go to specifically Bear County, because they're closest, can't consider some of the other counties, because like Atascosa County does not have an EOC at all. They do everything through the command post. Guadalupe County has one, but it's actually in the sheriff's office. They have, and Karnes County has got a newer building, but I think they're kind of merged with the sheriff's office as well, so. But when you go to most command centers, it is just the floor and then a few specific EOC operations people and the sheriff. So normally when you see EOC, emergency manager, you're always tying into the sheriff in most counties.
So I think the
We don't
best
have to do
start
it that
for
way,
us
but-
on this, while we take these home and study these for a little while, just remember who the essentials that need to
To be
be in that building. And then we'll work the rest out. But,
How many square feet is this building?
I knew you were gonna ask that, and I meant to look it up.
Square feet is this building?
Let's see, so the,
What's this say right here?
40 by, I believe that the maintenance office is 8,000, so this is, I think this was like 8,500, maybe a little bit larger than, maybe 9,000 square feet.
13,879 on here.
Yeah, and then you
That's
got-
total?
That's
But I
total,
don't know what that was, yeah.
yeah.
So,
Let's see. So he-
Pretty good size.
Pretty good size, yeah.
And something else since our last meeting I did think of, well, we kind of already talked about it, but since I'm losing this storage facility in the back side of the building, I need covered parking for the command trailer, for the CERT trailer, which is going to be our shelter trailer, and the cones trailer, so it's not sitting out in the weather. So since we're losing the enclosed storage, can we take the back side of the building and make a cover, like the first row of parking covered?
Where are you talking about?
So, the EOC's here, this is natural parking anyway, the sidewalk, if we could just extend this cover, that would give me covered parking for the trailers and stuff, because if not,
Is that where you really want them?
well, I just thought that would be the cheapest, not being an engineer, but,
Hey, Sheriff,
where are
do
we
get
gonna
'em in
put
those bays, or is that all taken up?
well, the bays would have to be reconstructed.
Are you using that whole thing?
The tail end of that building, she could keep if she wanted.
But they have, I have one of the 4 at the back, and when you walk in, it's got a loft, so the loft would have to be removed, and there are beams. I don't have any clue whether they're support beams or not, so we would have to spend county funds, because we can't use ARPA funds, to modify the end of that building to accommodate that. Because that was the original design, is that this end of the building was gonna be my storage, and that's where the trailers and stuff was
I don't have
gonna
a problem
go.
with you building a covered, or asking for that covered part, as long as it's not close to that landing zone.
No, I don't care where it goes, as long as somewhere I get some covered parking. If it's cheaper to run it off the side of the building, which it may not be, I don't know what is the eve of the,
It's not gonna be that much different, but
so, I mean, somewhere, so it's
36?
32, but I need more, so, yeah, for the ton,
Are you
Yes.
talking totally enclosed or just a roof?
at least a roof.
Just so if you butt it up
That's
against
all
the
you
back
need
of
to
the
keep the
building,
sun off.
Something to keep the sun off the.
well, but it would be,
AC's running
it
all
would
the
be
time.
better if it was fully enclosed, because I know you're planning on wrapping that one trailer, and so it's gonna get sun exposure on whatever side's pointed to the sun, so.
Yeah, it would be best, but
How are you gonna,
expensive.
is that gonna be a difficult thing to park back there? Because I'm trying to figure out, man, backing it in, how do you park it in there?
Well, if we,
Well, to
If
me,
we
the
did
short
here-
question is what would it take? So all you need to do is you need to get that last bay or last 2 bays, whatever you want to call it, empty. And we probably need to put some new roll-up doors in
yes.
there.
Well, we
be able
can't
to-
use the ARPA funding for that.
No, no, but I'm just saying, I don't see this as being a big, giant, huge expense temporarily to fix that situation.
He's right, that building's already covered and sided, so,
The bay that we use now, it has a support pole right in
In
the
the
center
middle of it.
oh, so, and those are support beams?
Well,
hooked up to the rafter.
yeah.
Ideally, it would be good if you could pull,
But is it in the middle of the bay?
I can't
Yes.
back the trailer to it.
You can't even back a trailer in.
But on one side or the other, I thought you could get all the way
Put a
through there.
door in the back side?
I've only been in my one little shed, the other.
The next one over, I think, that's good. That was where the old training area was. That's clear all the way through there. I mean, there's some cabinets and workbenches and other stuff in there that just needs to be torn out.
Ideally, if you
Do we see
I can look at it, I think I can find a place for you.
a shortfall in the ARPA funds? If we decided to build on the back of this building because we're taking out
Well, we're,
this whole side that belongs to
we're
the
all
sheriff,
saving that. And that was a major renovation there.
right?
So we gotta know what that looks like on the savings part of it.
Right.
I know where you're going with that. Will we have enough?
To take and build the addition the way that she wants, and it'll be a permanent addition that will always have trailers in emergency management that we're gonna need to
Well-
have housed.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't want to spend a lot of money on that building because the ultimate plan was to strip that down, redo it, reinforce it, try to increase the wind loading as best we can, reskin it, make it look nice. Because, that building was built, I think, in at least 4, maybe 5 sections.
No, I'm talking about the new building. I'm saying because,
Not just building a barn.
Yeah.
Just
Building a covered area on the back of our new ARPA building.
Well, the estimate is somewhere around 5 million, and this was pre-COVID. We have it, or I mean, pre-supply chain issues. And so the modifications to the existing building, we're guessing $1 million to $1.5 million, the balance to do this. So, yeah, so we have, see, we got 9.9 million, I think it was. We committed 3.7, so we have 6.6 to spend. So if this comes in at 3.5, 4 mil, we've still got 2.5 mil to spend on there. Now, being how that's an EOC function and we can use it for a new building, since Brenda left, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't build a separate storage building and figure out all the spacings we need to put the LZ, back in there where it's in a secured area. So,
Well, not only that is that if you build another 40 by 40 building that houses these trailers and you need room, you pull the trailers out and you've got a 40 by 40 space. If you got to use it for some sort of stacking of materials and/or people or whatever we get thrown.
It's an open room.
He
Yeah,
just
I mean,
brought up-
1,600 is not that
He
big,
brought up a good point. One of these,
this room.
which one of these rooms here is going to be designated for your PPE and other materials that are needed?
It originally was going to be part of this
Okay.
back
So
storage room that I'm
we
losing.
didn't talk about that. So where would that need to be moved to? I mean, all that really needs to go in a climate-controlled area because if
It
you
does.
start sticking gloves and masks in there and this heat,
Yeah, I don't,
no.
I don't know where it's going to go at this point.
Okay, so maybe one of these areas in here could be designated for that? I mean, don't need a real big office for gloves and,
well, yeah, I mean.
Put it in one of these
you-
other-
You could look at where the old or where the dispatch was proposed to be. There's an office and a storage room there. I mean, that'll be reconfigured, but you could use one of those. Just leave that wall there.
okay. Would you please look through this, pencil some things in? Commissioners, would you all do that again? And we can revisit this at some point with some suggestions?
Also, I'm certain with you moving over there, you'll have your AA move. Can we move the commissioner's AA there as well?
Yeah.
Because I know that they kind of help each other sometimes answer phones or do whatever, whenever one's absent.
Yes, we can do that. Yeah.
They don't need two separate offices, they can sit in the same office. Right.
Agree?
That'd be up for discussion. I don't see any
Agree.
reason to
I
need
don't have a
to.
problem with that.
Judge, so I can schedule a meeting with the architect when we have this information back so I can tell them what they need to do.
Commissioners, 2 weeks to look this over and pencil some things in and get back to me on your suggestions or what you feel needs to be either added or taken out? Because, I mean, they're going to have to go back and redesign the inside of this thing. Some parts of it, not a whole lot.
Yeah, just keep in mind that the more we change, the more expensive it's going to be.
And where are we at already? Like,
We're at 220, 225. That's what we've spent to get to this. Remember, these plans were just about ready to bid when we stopped.
Y'all, 2 weeks?
Who's doing the plans?
RVK,
Harvey?
K,
Okay.
K as in King.
2 weeks enough, gentlemen? Okay. Hey, and Commissioner Martin, thank you I know that this was dropped on your lap. I appreciate you doing all this work on it. We do, so.
Yeah, no problem. I just, in order to, we're not in a big rush, but, we do have some deadlines with the ARP money and to make sure that we finish the project. If we run into some delays for some reason to meet the statutory deadlines, otherwise, then the county is going to get kicked back and we get to pay for it all. So there's not a huge sense of urgency, but the longer we wait, the longer it's going to take, so.
So where are you gonna have parking for this building, for these people that are gonna be in this building?
There'll
There'll be some parking up front, and then most of it'll be in the back.
In the back will be
where
controlled
the LZ's at?
access, so
it'll go
no one can get in the
alongside that
back
building.
without,
LZ's not going to be that close. It's going to be,
Yeah, there's a road that goes through here.
That acreage right there is a lot bigger than, you have to go out there and look. I walked it the other day, and there's a lot of space there, so.
Well, it goes almost to,
So there'll be parking out
97,
here,
87.
Judge?
I'm sorry?
There'll be parking out here?
Yes. The parking
And where?
here, and then
just
around the back. where
commercial
the
zone
employees-
is all that's
that
up there.
LZ will move out here.
Yeah,
So there'll be some parking back here, and they'll have a rear entrance.
Yeah, because it's probably, what, 68, no, it's probably more than that, 100 feet from the end of the building to the property line,
Yeah,
something like that?
the existing building,
Yeah.
what I'm talking about, yeah, it's at least 100 foot. property line.
Yeah, so off that building on the left, going back, it's still 100 feet to the property line from there.
and I've noticed a drainage. Is that a natural drainage, or is that
No,
any
that's-
type of floodplain? It's not gonna cause any
No,
issues?
that's the drainage swale for the improvements.
Okay, because I know the sheriff has a lot of his stuff backed into that.
Well, it won't be there anymore.
Even better. That's even
Yeah,
better.
it'll be gone or in the back, somewhere
Okay.
else back in here.
You said 20 or 30 foot, you might look at moving that a little bit further, just because of that tree and other stuff that can all have to be constructed.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm gonna talk to them about. Well, yeah, of course, the further away we go, the longer we have to connect it if we get to making those other changes, so. Yeah, it's 6 in one end, half a dozen in the other.
Okay. Any other questions for Cindy? Jason, you got any comments? Any? Okay.
He always has comments.
All right, we're going to go back and address one of our agenda items on item number 10. Since the gentleman didn't show up, I'll entertain a motion to table that one till the next meeting.
Make a motion to table item number
The-
10. Mr.
Craven, wasn't it?
It was the gentleman that was going to present a check to the Veterans Service Office,
VSO.
VSO.
So make a motion to table item 10 for the check to the VSO.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner King, seconded by Commissioner Martin. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Akins, seconded and third by Mr. King and Paradola. Unanimous. All right, we are adjourned.